In the world of imaging, and in the hearts of many, the smartphone has now become a true icon for the world of mobile photography. The most useful camera is the one that you've got in your pocket. So in 2025, with the beleaguered smartphone company Huawei, have what it takes in the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra to make one of the best and most powerful mobile imaging camera phones to date. But let's find out in my full review. So welcome to another video. Welcome to a freezing cold day in January. But finally, it's my full review of the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra. Now, if you haven't gathered already, this is going to be a review mainly focused on the camera. You've all seen the other reviews, you've all seen the specs, but I really wanted to take some time not only to use this device as my daily phone, but also to really push these cameras to the limits. And push these cameras like I have done with pretty much every single other Huawei device since the P30 Pro. Even the Mate 10 Pro I've tested, the Mate 30 Pro. There's a lot of devices that I've tested and used from Huawei, so this is going to be a really detailed look at not only how they compare to other smartphones, but also how I feel they compare compared to their other devices. So first of all, let's talk about the screen of this device. It's a good size. It's curved slightly around the edges, so you can see that you've got a slight curve on all four corners, which is really underappreciated. And in a world where the modern day iPhone, the Pixel series, and even the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra all come with squared off edges and flat screens, I'm not sure that's the right direction for smartphones. But this screen, again, it is quite responsive, it is quite nice. I find that the under display fingerprint scanner has seen its day now. It's a bit slow and it needs upgrading to an ultrasonic scanner like you get on the Vivo X200 Pro. But the brightness is acceptable, not outstanding. The annoying thing I find with this is Huawei clearly limit the brightness when you do go in what it believes to be extreme sunlight, even in not automatic brightness mode, that the brightness will boost. And the brightness that it boosts to is really impressive and it makes the screen much more visible, but I'd like to have manual control over that and be able to do that myself if you are in challenging lighting conditions and you do want that extra display brightness. So the display itself is made out of Kunlun Glass 2, which is Huawei's own sort of Gorilla Glass, you could say. They do claim that it's actually super strong. However, I had the device 2 days, I dropped it with its included case, and I've actually got a crack, you can see here. I've actually already got a crack on the device, and I've had that since I bought the device. Another really poor quality in the design limitation in my mind is this camera bump at the back. You can see that it's really sort of scratched up. Hopefully you can see on the camera, but around the camera lens there that they protect with that innovative pop-out camera, which is a 1-inch sensor, which we'll get onto later, you'll see that it has scratched up and the case that's included doesn't offer any extra protection. Also, these bits here as well, it just feels a little bit plasticky and a little bit cheap. I'm not really a fan of this vegan leather design here. I think the P60 Pro's Rocco Pearl design, that they call it, is a much more stunning, striking and better looking phone. I also think that phone was actually made slightly better as well. But I shouldn't be too harsh on this device. It has still stood up the test of time, although it is slightly damaged. A few other basics to cover off. The battery life of the device is acceptable but not outstanding. With its 5200 mAh cell, it can last you around 6 to 7 hours on a good day, with brightness on full and with average use. Charging speeds, however, are really good. 80 watt wireless charging, 20 watt reverse wireless charging, and 100 watt wired charging. It actually offers some of the best charging speeds in the business. I found a full charge takes me around 46 to 48 minutes. Connectivity isn't the best. I do find that the Wi-Fi signal can be quite weak at times, as well as cellular connectivity. Data speeds can be slow due to its lack of 5G. The audio and speakers on this device are also some of the best that I've ever tested, along with the mics that capture fantastic voice qualities, active noise cancellation when you're on calls, and also when you're in video recording they can capture some superb audio, as you've heard throughout some of my videos before. Software also seems to be a bit of a weak point here. I do find that the Huawei UI has not developed as quickly as it did in its heyday with the P30 Pro. Software updates often take their time to come to the device, still waiting for EMUI 15, despite Huawei's Mate X6 launching with that software. The user interface is now starting to feel really dated, however it is still smooth and pleasant to use. However, let's get to why we're all here and the reason for buying this smartphone, and that's its cameras. The phone offers a 1-inch main sensor with a variable aperture from 1.6 to f4.0. It also offers a 40 megapixel ultra-wide with f2.2 and a telephoto camera with an f2.3 aperture, I believe. Could be corrected on that one. But anyway, we're not going to go too much into the video quality of the device because every review on this channel has pretty much been filmed by this device within the last year, so you can see for yourself the video quality and make your own mind up. Unfortunately, the device doesn't shoot in 120 frames per second at 4K, neither does it shoot 8K video, and now it is starting to feel dated compared to the competition. I just think that this chipset can't handle it. But if we're focusing on photos, I still believe that this is one of the best smartphone cameras you can get. It's not perfect, but it is outstanding. The thing that's impressive the most is the colour accuracy between each 3 lenses. The ultra-wide angle lens is definitely the weakest of the 3, and I actually really don't like the lens. In low light conditions it really struggles. Photos become extremely blurry with lots of noise, lots of smoothing, and you can really tell that the processing is having to work so hard to try and clean up the image. The main camera is exactly what you would expect, pretty much a masterpiece in mobile imaging. Fantastic contrast, no blown out highlights, extreme sharpness. Sometimes in certain scenarios it may be too over sharpened. If you look at some of these images you can see a lot of fringing, and you can see what is believed to be detail is in fact sharpness, so sometimes it can lead to a slightly unpleasant look, but overall I'd say it's on that borderline of being a fantastic image yet over sharpened. Unfortunately, although really good, the macro photography I don't believe is as good as the P60 Pro last year from Huawei. You still get lovely bokeh, good sharpness, however the edge detection sometimes isn't the best, and you can tell that it is heavily artificially processed. Night shots also look fantastic here, however the big problem I've noticed with this device is lens flare. Whatever lens you use, you tend to get a lot of lens flare, and with phones like the Vivo X200 Pro with their T-Star coating, I think it makes a real difference. Portraits as well also look fantastic. Edge detection is really good when it wants to work properly. And oh my god, look at the bokeh, it looks stunning. You get a real DSLR look to the portrait shots on this device. The zoom lens is no good by about 6 times. After that your images start to look really washed out, a lack of detail, and you can see that that zoom lens is really being stretched to its limits. However, out of the 3 it probably is one of my favourites to shoot with. It just gives you a really nice background compression, great contrast, nice sharpness, as you can see in this image here, and also not blown out highlights, which some zoom cameras try and do to overcompensate for their small sensors. Colours again don't become too vibrant, and they actually stay quite true to life and natural. However, if you choose, you can do different filters as seen in some of these test photos. All of these photos are also not edited, completely straight out of the camera to give you guys the most honest and accurate representation of what this phone can do. But where this phone really does start to score some points back, and I think does a lot better than that Vivo X200 Pro, is action shots. Look at this bus here driving along. You can see that it's actually really sharp, it stays in focus, and that fast shutter speed, which is the fastest on any mobile phone that I've tested, really does start to come into play. Unfortunately, it's not perfect, as you'll see in some of the train shots included in this review. However, 8 out of 10 times it does work really well, and it's a noticeable improvement than on most smartphones. But I think the biggest thing for this camera, and I think the most important thing for any smartphone camera that nobody talks about, is personality. Is it a fun camera to shoot with, and do you get a lot of enjoyment from shooting with it? Does it give you that urge to pick up that phone and go and shoot some one-of-a-kind images? And I must say, with Huawei, it seems to do that a lot more than the Vivo X100 Ultra and other phones that I've tested. New this year for this phone as well is the monochrome mode. If you go to the bottom of the camera app, go to X image filters, and you can select mono, and that's going to give you a nice monochrome mode to shoot with. These photos also have fantastic detail, great contrast that's not overdone, and superb highlight control compared to most other monochrome modes on other smartphones. Those glory days of Huawei working with Leica, the camera company, if you dig hard enough in the camera app you'll still find those old filters that I believe they co-engineered together, and they're still as fantastic to use as it always was. You can also use them for video, however unfortunately Huawei seems to cap this at 1080p, which really isn't great in a 2024 flagship phone. The filters are not to everyone's taste and they're not great for every scene, however they can add extra personality and character to each shot if you use them correctly. The camera app is starting to feel dated. We haven't seen much new features in a long time, so I hope that's something Huawei will address in the future, but overall it's a superb camera. So I hope you liked the video, and finally my review on the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra. If you like the review then please like, comment and subscribe, and also just let me know what you think of the device, your thoughts on Huawei and what you think to the quality of this video below. Thanks for watching, see you on the next one.